Hi, we're back with another short video on how refracs can help make America's old oil and gas wells great again. Last week we talked about the size of the prize, estimating the remaining oil and gas in place from the original oil and gas in place, using petrophysics and geology and reservoir engineering. This week we're going to talk about why it's there. That's important in that you will need to have some criteria for screening. You don't want to look at all 700,000 wells in North America that are producing. You want to target it at specific groups of wells that have specific completion practices. And also you don't want to repeat the same mistakes twice. So you want to do something different. A good example of this is George Mitchell's Barnett story, which is legend right now in the industry. Cross-link fracs, large proppant volumes, and didn't really work. And then slick water comes along, and we're off to the races. A good example. Another example is in the Wolf Camp in West Texas. In a study, or actually it was a paper I'm presenting tomorrow at a conference here in Austin, where we've seen a considerable increase in EUR per foot of lateral over the last few years, 226% in some cases between 2012 and 2015. Primarily from using larger proppant volumes per foot of pay, up to 2,500 pounds per foot of lateral now. You started out, they were in less than 1,000 for several years. Going with shorter stage spacings. I understand one operator is actually going down to 100-foot spacing in a pilot, 150, it's routine, 125 foot. The original wells were 400 feet or so. And just from that alone, it's you can see there's opportunities, just by doing those things and seeing repeatable increases in your EURs per foot. The EUR per well doesn't really bear into this because you can, you're looking at recovery factors. You're not looking at total EURs. But at any rate, the EUR per foot of lateral is important. And what they're doing. So what you would want to do is go back and look at older wells that had longer stage spacings and shorter proppant volumes or smaller proppant volumes. So that's kind of almost a no-brainer. The vertical world is a little more complicated. There, I think the lowest hanging fruit is multiple cluster completions, where it's almost like people, when they design their fracs, they think they're reserve-seeking missiles. You perforate more than one cluster in a single frac stage, you're going to stimulate one cluster. And you're going to, you might get skin removal in your other clusters. SP 90483 is a good reference for that. We published that back in 2004. Big, large integrated study with production logs and perms and pressures and everything. But there, you're going to typically have a lot of remaining oil and gas in place just from the fact that you didn't stimulate all your zones. The same exercise would apply there. Just look for multiple cluster fracs to start with. That's the big one. One we're working on right now at over 1,000 foot of interval with, just basically fracked in one stage with about 8 different sands. We're going to go back in there and do 8 separate frac stages, with a non-damaging fluid, where the original was done with a damaging fluid as well. So those are the type of opportunities that are out there. And it's the same thing, same workflow to try and analyze that. Look at the size of the prize that's there and compare that to what the recovery should be, and just look at it from that perspective. With that criteria in mind, we'll move forward next week to talk about just how do you execute these refracs, given, you don't want to repeat the same mistakes twice that they did the first time, but also take into effect all the mechanical properties changes that have happened and how you get around, old perfs that are there and things like that, what techniques are available to try and mitigate the complications that you have from that. But anyway, with that, we'll see you next week.